What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Kick-Ass Podcast. We are finally back here today to talk some big business. We will be following up on AEW Revolution from last week. I was hoping to get a review show in last week when I was in Cleveland for some training, but the timing just didn't work out, and I was not able to bring some equipment with me. And I tried doing it, to be honest with you guys, on my phone, with just plugging in my earbuds and just kind of wigging it that way, and it didn't turn out great. I did like a little test run, and not that I have the best quality or the best equipment or anything like that here, but it just was kind of below even my standards. So that's why I just kind of nixed it. So I'm sorry about the delay with everything. Obviously, you guys have many other wrestling shows and podcasts to check out, so I'm sure you got your review fix in. But with all that being said, I'm super happy to be back here, and I'm super happy and grateful for you guys for checking out the show and the pod and just listening to me rant and ramble. And if you guys see some movement in the background, those would be my dogs making their way in and out of the room here. Normally I try to keep them in the back, but with my schedule changing and everything, I no longer work from home either, which is why the last few weeks and the next few weeks are just going to be a little bit of a shake up here in the scheduling and trying to get a new routine down. So I appreciate you guys, like I said, as always, for checking out the pod and the show. If you're watching it on YouTube or just listening to me through Apple, Spotify, whatever, I appreciate it. So thank you for that, guys. And with all that being said, this is pretty much just going to be an AEW centric show here. We do have some news that's broke in regards to some identities being revealed in the WWE world and the WWE side of things with I don't even want to say the WWE side of things, but the Vince McMahon scandal and the revelations with the corporate officers that have been named now. Brandon Thurston and John Pollock, I believe, uh, did some digging and did some investigating of their own and did some confirmation and got some names and were able to get confirmations through Janelle Grant's actual attorney. So I will be doing a separate show on that because that, to be honest with you, it deserves its own attention. And I still haven't. News Nation actually just did an interview that they just released like 5 minutes ago, my time, with John Pollock and Brandon Thurston themselves. So I want to check that out and I want to actually hear from them. So like I said, I'll be doing a kind of a recap on that and just seeing what revelations they release on the News Nation side of things and kind of what their thought process is and how they confirmed everything. But I did want to at least reference that and at least reference why I'm not talking on that right now. And like I said, this is going to be more of an AEW focused show anyway. The past few shows of mine have been WWE focused, obviously with the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, The Rock, things like that heating up. So I kind of wanted to shed some love and shed some light on AEW for tomorrow, especially since it is big business going on and it is big changings and big happenings going on over there in the AEW world. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited that we're finally getting some good things to talk with and about for AEW and not just questioning what they're doing, right? Some stories, but being excited. And I really do think, Triple H mentioned there was a new era for WWE a couple weeks ago at the press conference that they have for WrestleMania XL. But I think this is a new era for AEW as well. So with all that being said, we're going to dive right into it. With that being said, though, I will touch base on a couple things from AEW Revolution really quick. Of course, shout out Sting, right? I think as far as retirement matches go and farewells go and things of that nature, it's a no-brainer. AEW, I mean, I guess although this is their first one, but in the sense of AEW taking care of their veterans and their legendary talent, just no comparison, right? And I think with the shift in culture in WWE and the change of guards and things like that, I think that we will, and I think this year will be a prime example as well, just seeing how the Hall of Fame is handled. But I think the way that AEW and specifically Tony Khan has handled their legends from the beginning says a lot. You know what I mean? And I think that was another reason why, and another factor why, for instance, Owen Hart's family was able and not able, but so willing to be a part of AEW and to allow AEW to use the Owen Hart name and create kind of partner with the Owen Hart Foundation and have the tournament and things like that. So it wasn't really a surprise to me. Excuse me, the level of care and the just the pomp and circumstance, right? And just the extravagance that they put into Sting's retirement. I loved how they put the importance on it, but it didn't take away from anything else on the show, in my opinion, at least. Obviously, the whole show, it was sold literally on Sting's retirement, but I think that it didn't take away from the other matches on the show, and it didn't take away from the Young Bucks for that matter as well. I was in the camp, and I I was on record saying, "Go if you're gonna do it," and have the Bucks win and all that. I knew it wasn't gonna happen. Not going back on my choice because I still think, if I still could put money on it, or maybe not put money on it, but if I could still make a vote, I would still have the Young Bucks win, just because it would be great heat and it would be great for them going forward. And some reports have stated that pretty much everyone was in the ball camp of the Young Bucks losing except for Sting. So again, no surprise there, and not that it even really made that big of a difference in the grand scheme of things, but it's just whatever in me that would have loved to see at least maybe Greensboro just up in flames, with the riots and things like that if Sting would have lost his retirement match. But with that being said, I think the number one thing that I think of in the match, obviously, is the Darby Allin spot. I still can't believe that happened. I still can't believe that Darby is he's just insane. In the best way possible. Of course, people have kind of had some backlash about it. There was one video clip that I saw from that angle looking that way. If you're looking towards the ring, that the lady standing and right there on ringside, kind of where the barricades turn and kind of are have that curve in them almost. That the lady standing right there, and I believe it was like a pink shirt or something. She got hit by the shards of glass, the sugar glass or whatever it's made of, that flew and hit her. But look, I mean, they, especially AEW, they have those announcements and those disclaimers, right? If you're sitting front row in the first, beware. But I see both sides of it. Like you don't expect glass to be thrown at you or sugar glass or anything like that, or not thrown at you, but to hit you. But at the same token, too, you kind of it's AEW. You're not. First of all, it's not WWE. I mean, it's not GCW, but it's not WWE either. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, type thing. I mean, I wouldn't have been thrilled, but whatever. You know what I mean? But shout out Darby Allin. I mean, I still to me, it didn't really add much to the Sting component of the match, and with it being Sting's last match, because it literally had nothing to do with Sting, in my opinion. It was just another cool spot for Darby. But in respect, I'm not taking away from the dangerous level or anything like that, but I don't really know why it was needed in this match. So I'm open for feedback though. If someone else is like, oh no, or if one of you out there is like, oh no, Darby Allin needed to do it because it was beneficial for Sting because of X, Y, and Z. Totally open for it. You know what I mean? Totally open to hear the reasoning behind it. It was a cool spot, I guess, but I don't see what it had to do with Sting at all. So that would be my only kind of, I don't even want to say pushback, but just questioning on it. Like, okay, cool. Like Darby, like you want to do that spot? Right on. Okay. What does that have to do with Sting? Because even me sitting here talking about it now, I'm like, yeah, it made you remember that spot in the match, but it wasn't even like Darby. I don't know. To me, it would have been different if like there was like a plane. It was like a plane of glass backstage, right? Like let's say the match left the ringside or left the ring, and you're going backstage and you maybe have like one of the Jackson brothers and Sting on the other side, and then they all meet up backstage, right? The brawls lead to them facing off in a mutual area backstage, and that would have been cool too because we don't see that a lot from AEW. The only other time I remember is one of the first shows when John Moxley and Kenny Omega ended up in like a backstage area, and I think they either suplexed each other or it was a back body drop. I forget the exact move, but they landed on this table that was made out of glass. Like it was almost kind of like a living room table. You know what I mean? So if you were gonna maybe have some type of that and maybe like a fake room, you know how they do with those fake rooms that they make backstage, maybe do something like that with and have like those planes of glass, because they had two separate planes of glass anyway, so you could have made one plane of glass, had like a fake room, and then maybe if you want to have one of the Jacksons looking to throw Sting through the glass, and then Darby does whatever to them, and then, I don't know, and they end up throwing Darby through the glass instead of Sting, or the momentum of them throwing Sting pushes Darby. I don't know, something like that. But that would have made more sense, all right? If like Darby's biting the bullet for Sting, or fuck, Darby is so crazy enough, you see, let's say Matt Jackson getting ready to he has Sting and he's gonna throw Sting through the glass. You have Darby just beeline it. Darby is fucking fast as shit, right? So comes out of nowhere. You have Darby just come from out of nowhere, just beeline it and just throw himself through the glass. It's fucking crazy, right? But that's Darby Allin. So that would have made more sense. So yes, so by the time Sting being thrown by Matthew Jackson, apologies, Matthew Jackson, by the time he would have even made it to the glass, Darby would have already been through the glass to break it and to shatter it. So therefore Sting is just being thrown through nothing at that point. So something like that, I don't know. But to me, it just, if you're gonna do a spot like that, I don't want to say make it make sense, because it's not like, to me at least, it didn't take away from the match. It just kind of wasn't necessary. So it was just kind of like, and I totally get why some people are saying it did take them out of the match. And in some aspects, it did. I don't want to say take me out of the match, but at least for after you saw the impact and saw how immediate his back was just pouring out blood, that's all I was thinking about. And it was obvious the camera wasn't cutting over there for a few minutes after that. So I don't know, man. I don't know. To me, personally, it didn't take me out of the match completely, but it did take my mind off of the match itself. And I'm like, yo, is Darby okay? Did they take him to the back? Is dude bleeding out? Because even Tony Schiavone said, oh, he could bleed out or something like that. So it's like, yo, like, I know, but don't say that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm already thinking that. Like, I'm already freaked out enough, or concerned enough. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, like I said, or on Twitter at @kickashpodcast_ or at ASHMANNS. Obviously, that was the main takeaway and the main focal point of the Revolution pay-per-view was Sting and his retirement match itself. The I won't say that obviously was the main event, but the championship match with Samoa Joe, Hangman Page, and Swerve. Not a fan of the ending. I think the right man won, obviously, because that sets us up hopefully with a Swerve Dynasty, or a Swerve match at Dynasty versus Joe. We'll get into that as we get a little bit closer and see how things are shaking out. But I'm a fan of everything that match had individually, but just not how the ending happened, if that makes sense. I'm down for a bad guy Hangman Page. I'm here for a good guy Swerve. I'm here for a guy Joe. You know what I mean? But just that ending wasn't it for me personally. So with that being said, we will jump off of the Revolution bandwagon and hop over to the Big Business one. I like to think that they chose March 13th because they knew it was my day of birth and they just wanted to celebrate even more. So thank you, AEW. I appreciate that. But no, in all seriousness, we obviously will be talking about the impending arrival of Mercedes Mone. And I wanted to kind of start off with a couple things or a couple quotes that I saw, and it made me obviously pull up the article itself. So we'll definitely get to that here and start off with that. I want to go because there was two different takeaways that people were quoting, and I think it was the Kick. Yeah. So she did an interview with the Kick Rocks Wrestling podcast, maybe a distant cousin to the Kick Ash podcast. So shout out them. But she obviously sat down with them, and there was, like I said, two takeaways or two headlines that people are running with, right? One of them was that she's going to be back in WWE one day, and then of course just her talking about her big business. So we'll definitely, and I keep saying definitely, so that must be the word of the day. But we'll be getting to that here as well. I'm just muting and pausing some ads that we have on the page here. But shout out WrestleZone.com for the transcription of the podcast that she had there. The one that I'm going to be starting off with is the one that she's referencing about going back to WWE. So we'll start there. The article, yeah. So the article pretty much starts off with tagging the podcast. So again, shout out Kick Rocks Wrestling Podcast. They say when asked about the night of her WWE exit, Monet said it was the hardest decision she's had to make in her life. That's a big question. That's a big, big question. Mercedes Mone said, I really believe in not only the universe, but I believe in myself, that I believe in such a higher power of light that comes over me. Okay. Something inside of me told me I needed to go do this and stand up for myself. It was a very hard decision because wrestling and WWE has been my whole life. If people don't know, it's been my whole life, and it's the hardest decision I've ever had to make in my whole life. But it's the most proudest. It's crazy because I would not be sitting here living my best version of my life and getting to be everything I ever dreamt of. I get to be everything I ever dreamt of and more. You have no idea. And it makes me so excited because that moment changed my whole life for the better. I'm so thankful for that moment. I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud of Trinity, Naomi. I'm so proud of just how strong we were because, like you said, everybody wanted to talk about it. Everyone wanted to act like they were in the room or worked there or were backstage or knew what happened or what was said. All I know is I handled it like a CEO, like the boss that I am, with my head held high. And I can't say nothing but amazing things to WWE. I'm so thankful for the career that they gave me, the fans that they gave me, the life that they gave me, the dreams that they gave me. So many dreams, and I got to chase and live them all. And now I get to do so much more. And now I'm going to be back there one day, so it's not over. Like I said, oh, and I know, I'm sorry, let me go back. And I know I'm going to be back there one day. It's not over. Like I said, I have a lot of unfinished business in wrestling in a lot of places. And then they just go on to talk that she'll be making her debut. So that was what she said in reference to the WWE side of things, her departure. Um, and and I think pretty much that she gave us there, she summarized everything. She gave us what we had been looking for answer wise, and that's all we really need to know. Like I don't need to sit here and know, oh, she really wasn't happy with the decision of this match and that was the breaking point. You know what I mean? Like, of course we love to know shit, right? We wouldn't be sitting here, I wouldn't be sitting here reading articles and talking to you guys if we didn't like to know shit, right? And if we didn't like to know the inside scoop. But for me, man, like, okay, she said her piece. Like, we don't need to know all the specifics unless she wants to come back, or Naomi Trinity wants to come back and be like, yo, it was because of X, Y, and Z. I didn't want to do this, and this. Then cool, I'm definitely going to be interested in reading it. But I think, can we just be done with wondering about why she left and questioning, oh, what was the specific thing? What was the tipping point? Like, we got it. And there's no ill will, and there's no rotten milk, rotten tomatoes, whatever you want to call it over there, like spoiled milk is what I was looking for. Like, she's good, like she's so grateful to WWE. And I think that we all as fans just will. And if there is, she's hiding it and she's masking it. Or if there was at one point, she's accepted the separation and she's accepted her decision and she's moving on. And she's clearly going to be back there one day. So I think it's with everything, like I think it's just one of those situations where you've been with somebody or something for so long. Sometimes you just need to find yourself. It's like, to me, it's one of those relationships where they were together in middle school, high school, college, and now that you're that couple in your mid 20s, and it's not that you don't want to be with that person anymore, or you hate that person, or you're mad at them because of X, Y, and Z. You just are curious and you just want to know what else is out there, and you just want to experience the world. You just want to talk to other people. You just want to see what other people do, and how other people react, and how, oh, maybe if I'm in a relationship with this person, it's just seeing how that is, and just seeing how I really am in a relationship. You know what I mean? Because being with someone for so long, or being with one company for so long, you identify your work self as that self. That's your working style, and you get in a comfort zone, and you don't grow. And while, yes, that's good, it's good to have a comfort zone, and it's good to be in a place where you feel safe, and your paycheck is going to be there, or you can go home at night, and your loved one is going to be there. But sometimes you do owe it to yourself as a human being to go out there and just grow. And again, not saying that you're going to be done with that person or with that company forever, but just agree to mutually part ways and say, hey, this isn't goodbye. This is just I'll see you later. As dumb and as cliche as that sounds, and as that may be, like, that's why I don't hold grudges. Me personally, and then I'll get off this little soapbox that I apparently jumped on. I don't hold grudges, and I try not to burn bridges as best as possible. You know what I mean? Because look, do I get pissed off and have some people done me personally wrong? Of course, that's life. And I've done the same. I mean, I know I've done shitty things to people, that I shouldn't have done. And looking back, I would have done completely different. You know what I mean? But to me, I try to really look at the why. And if you've listened to me before, I question things too much. But I look at the why for so many reasons and with everything in life. And some of the reason is to see if I can understand the other side of it and to see, okay, like that's how they think. I wouldn't have done it that way, but that's where they're coming from and that's what they need at this time. So it is what it is. And what I got out of that relationship, whether it's with a partner, whether it's with a company, whether it's with whatever, you know what I mean? Like, yes, 10 negative things may have happened, but I most likely got 20 plus things that were positive that I learned from, or that I skills that I gained, or something that I learned about myself. So that's why, to me personally, like when I read this article and the one that I'll read here in a second, I was just happy for her, man. Like I feel like she's really found peace, and I feel like she's really found a new version of herself, and I'm excited. I still wish and I was kind of hoping that she was going to go back to WWE sooner, but for whatever reason, just hearing and or reading that side of things, I didn't listen to the podcast specifically. I just read the transcription. It just made me happy for her, and it gave me a sense of peace for her too. So yes, I like I said, I was looking forward to possibly getting her back in WWE now, but I'm just happy she's going to be in AEW. I'm happy she's going to be in wrestling, and I'm happy that she's going to be providing her skills and lending her skills and her knowledge to a whole new division that needs her. So, and no shade on them. They're still it's a new division, it's a new company. Yes, they're going on year 5, but they literally built that division from the ground up. So I'm in the camp of I'm excited that she's going to be there. I'm excited to see what she brings to the division, and I'm excited and hoping that Tony Khan makes her the star as well. So, and not just the star for a 5-10 minute segment in a 5-10 minute portion of a show, or for a division, but for the company as a whole. So that's my hope with that. And I'm just now noticing too. If I look kind of weird, my new role requires me to be outside as well for a good portion of the day. And the skin, my fair sensitive skin and the sun do not get along. So I joked I'll be buying a bucket hat maybe within this the next few days. So yeah, hopefully the redding and the discoloration isn't too crazy for you guys. But hey, good news is you don't have to watch me on YouTube. You can just listen via, like I said earlier, Apple or Spotify. So if my face is looking a little too crazy for you guys, you don't have to look at it for per se. But moving on here, I did want to reference the other portion of the interview that she did here as well, talking about the big business side of things, and of course the AEW side, which is what we'll be getting into in a preview for tomorrow's show, which is pretty stacked. She goes on to say, I've been making some really big moves, big business moves, and big money moves, Mercedes Mone said. And again, this is again from WrestleZone as well for the transcription from the podcast. So shout out to them for that. She goes on to say, quote, just this whole time of healing, I got to work on so many other things that I have such a passion for. I think fans are going to be really excited that finally I'm going to be releasing some music this year, which is pretty interesting and pretty cool to see and hear. She says, I'm still acting and got some amazing things in the works, and I got to audition for incredible roles in movies. We've got to keep manifesting great things about that. And I finally think I found a home in a wrestling place. So it's really, really exciting, and I'm excited about these big money moves. Then they go on just to discuss the injury that she had. She said, or they go on to say that she spoke about the training that she's been putting in for an injury that her doctor told her early on was career ending, which I didn't realize it was almost career ending. So that was news to me. She said, I think I finally made my decision, and I think it'll be really soon. I've been posting my training videos. I've been training really, really hard with Tyler Breeze at Flatbacks and Sean Spears. Shout out to Hybrid School with Funaki in San Antonio and the New Japan Dojo in LA. I've been working so hard to get back to this place that I love because little do people know I was told that this is a career ending injury. I screamed at my doctor and surgeon. I said, no, it's not. I'm going to come back really soon and I'm going to have just the greatest time, the greatest matches, the greatest career that I've had yet because I see it, I feel it, and I know it soon. So that's dope. I was not aware until I read that it was potentially career ending. So I'm happy she's able to make a speedy recovery, and in that sense, speedy because it been about a year since her injury. So if she's already returning, that's a good sign. And real quick, guys, sorry about that. Can't go wrong with some late night iced coffee, right? But following up on some things outside of the ring before we look at the card for tomorrow night's Big Business in Boston. Tony Khan dropped a tweet. No surprise there. Our dude loves Twitter. Just hyping up the Big Business show. He goes on to say, and this was earlier today around 2:11 p.m. He says, I'm excited to see you all for Big Business at TD Garden on Wednesday night, AEW Dynamite. We're down to just a few hours away from one of the biggest evenings ever in AEW. Hashtag AEW Big Business on TBS tomorrow. This week it will be a Wednesday night to remember. Wednesday in Boston. And he spells Boston with Boston. So I mean, it's not even a question at this point. It's just a matter of, hey, is she kicking off the show? Is she going to be at the 9 o'clock hour? Are they going to close out the show with her? I think they should personally start off the show with her. I think you want to make sure you have plenty of room for her and plenty of time for her. It's going to be very interesting to see what kind of debut she does. If it's going to be similar to the Punk thing, and if you guys have listened to me before, I was lucky enough to be there for when Punk returned in Chicago and with AEW. So the first time. So with the way they did that, they did some I think it was like an AEW dark taping prior to that, and then Tony Khan came out about 4 minutes prior to it was Rampage, prior to the show starting, and pretty much just hyped it up. He said, and he was getting emotional. He was like, I'm so happy to be able to bring this to you guys, da da da, and pretty much just kind of down the show. So if I had to guess, I would say it's probably going to be something similar to that. I don't think it's going to be as emotional for him because the CM Punk thing, it was just emotional for different reasons. I think this is just more of an excitement thing. This is just like, let's fucking go type of an announcement. So I don't think he's going to be as emotional, but I'm still here for it. And that's still the way I would do things. And if I had to kind of throw my opinion out there for the way she debuts, I think it's going to be too cute if you have like a women's match or something like that, and then she makes the grand save or something like that. I don't think you want to do a debut with Mercedes Mone in that regard. So yeah, I think personally I would start the show with her. I think you have all this hype surrounding it, and there is something to be said with, well, you want to string people along, make sure you keep the ratings, that's and that's why you maybe want to throw her in the main event. But I don't think you need to. I think you have a stacked card, and we'll get into the lineup here in a second. And I think you just start off strong and have faith and have confidence in your audience. And don't have that be the only appearance. Maybe have her start off the show, have her come out there, say whatever she's going to say. And I think at this point, with how much hype you've put into this, you need to have her actually say something. I mean, I guess you could have her debut tomorrow and then hype her first ever live appearance with a AEW mic for next week. But I don't know. I think if the hype is right and the hype is there and the excitement is true, I think that, and the fans are going to come with Mercedes, I think that don't be scared about next week. You know what I mean? Don't hold things off to next week. Now, I'm not saying have her go out there, give her first promo, have someone else come out there, interrupt her, they fight, all this stuff, not give everything away night one. But I think you give her time. I think you give her 10, 15 minutes, go out there, soak in the love from the fans, have her moment, say a few things, and then carry on with the night, and then maybe later on, like an hour later, because Twitter's gonna be a buzz, right? Maybe an hour or so later, around that 9 o'clock hour, you have maybe a backstage segment where Tony Storm is doing an interview, and then you have Mercedes just show up. You have Tony Storm standing right here saying whatever, and then as the well, you don't even need to pan the camera back, but just have Mercedes come into the shot and just have them face to face. So there's a few things you can do that. No words exchanged, obviously, no physicality, just setting the stage without saying anything and just kind of throwing little darts out there. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I would do things with Mercedes. I think you really want to showcase her as the next big thing. Sorry, Brock. But the literally the next big thing for the women's division, and you really want to make her the centerpiece for AEW as a whole too. Nothing wrong, and nothing saying you can't have a female up there with your guys, you know what I mean? Not saying people are really going to maybe get excited for her matches like they will a Will Ospreay or anything like that, but that's because of the division right now, right? Like your obvious ones, your Tony Storms, your Britt Baker, Deanna Purrazzo, those matches are going to hit, but it's having the center and the focal point be right here while still allowing everyone else to continue to grow and learn, and having the shine and the brightness from that star that you have up there beaming down on everyone else. So it's almost like a UFO, right? Like just sucking them up, like beam me up, Scotty, you know what I mean? So I think that's what you can do. I think yes, there's been some reports in the past that she's like I don't want to say like selfish or anything, but she's like what you would think a star was. I don't see that though. And again, I could be wrong. And if reports come out or whatever, and ample evidence of her kind of being stuck up or whatever, then whatever. But I don't see that. I see the vibe that I get from her reading these reports and reading, well, not the reports, but the transcriptions from interviews that she does, and seeing interviews that she's done, even when she was on Broken Skull with Stoken, the fuck, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Um, she was confident but not cocky. And I think females get a bad rap a lot of times with being a bitch, and like, oh, she thinks more highly of herself than she should. But if it's a man saying it, doesn't no one says shit about them, you know what I mean? Like look at Conor McGregor. Like say what you will about Conor, some people are like, oh, he's great. Some people think he's an asshole. But no one questions him or his toughness or him being a star, or like, oh, he thinks more highly of himself than what he really is. Like, I don't know. It's just maybe he's not a great example. For whatever reason, he's just the first one that popped in my brain. But yeah, I'm not here for the Sasha slash Mercedes slander or anything like that. I think she stood up for herself. I think she stands up for herself, and rightfully so. And I think just because she has done that and does do that, she's gonna get that rap on her. And of course, like if she's picking fights and like being catty, then that's a completely different story. But if you're standing up for yourself and you're doing what you think is best for your future and your career, you're not a bitch. Sorry about it, but you're not a bitch. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But with that being said, that is the outside of the ring news for AEW Big Business. I'm pulling up the card here. There's the poster is beautiful too. So just shout out AEW marketing and the new logo and everything that they did there, or not. Well, I guess it could be the marketing team, but at least the IT team and who's been doing their graphics, because this is pretty dope. But with that being said, the card for tomorrow, we'll start at the bottom here. We have Hook and Chris Jericho facing off against the Gates of Agony. I'm really interested to see what they end up doing with Hook and Chris Jericho. I don't think Hook needs Jericho. I think it's kind of a weird pairing. I get the history, obviously, but I think it's just Jericho needed a partner at this point because he's 0 for 2 now. Very different reasons, obviously, but just kind of feels forced to me. But it's one of those we'll wait and see how it goes and how long it goes type thing. But Hook is good solo, in my opinion. Next up, we have Willow Nightingale facing off against Riho, which would be a dope match. The next one that I'm really excited for, and I don't remember this being announced originally, so if this was thrown on after, oh, he did because it was in his promo. My bad. But we have Darby Allin facing off against Jay White, because this is the last match I think he'll have before he flies out to climb Mount Everest. And again, Darby I know you'll be good, man, but there is that 2.6% chance. So Godspeed to you, man. All positive vibes. Whatever you believe in, the universe, God, your God, whatever you believe in, whatever protects you, I hope they are there with you that day, my friend. Because and again, like it's kind of interesting thinking back on my journey with Darby Allin. When I first started off with AEW, I had no idea who he was. He fought against Cody Rhodes for, what was it, the oh my gosh, it wasn't the Fight for the Fallen, but it was one of those shows that they did right when AEW as a company was launching, and that's gonna drive me nuts. I don't think it was Fight for the Fallen, the moniker. Oh, what was it? I can't remember. But anyway, it doesn't really matter, I guess. But the match that he had against Cody Rhodes, when that was announced, I was like, I've never heard of this guy. And he was okay. I mean, it was a good match from what I remember. But I was like, okay, it's fine. But he's really grown on me. And I credit that a lot to Sting as well. Um, Darby Allin, and of course, obviously Darby himself, but the character really grew on me, and something about Darby just always being the underdog and just being fucking crazy, but still every match is entertaining, and it's just something different about him. Even though that's kind of obvious, but it's just something about him connects different with the fans too. So I this past year, and maybe not even a year, just something different about Darby has connected with me. So I'm very much looking forward to this match, and I think it's gonna be a great match. Obviously on paper, right? But I hope this is the beginning of something new for Jay White as well. Um, I'm not a fan of the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. I think it's dumb. I think that it's just they're spinning their reels at this point, and it's just a travesty what they're doing with Jay White. And again, this is coming from someone who wasn't even the biggest Jay White fan, who wasn't the biggest fan of New Japan. Just to be blank and frank with you guys, like I not that I wasn't a fan or the biggest fan, I just didn't make time, and didn't obviously knew of Jay White, but never saw or didn't see the majority of the key matches that he was in. I went out and like sought out specific matches that that got a lot of love and praise and stuff, but didn't hear or like really know. I wasn't the biggest Jay White fan. I'll just say that, and I didn't know the most of him. But even now, I'm like, yo, like y'all are fumbling the bag with him, and yeah, he's great. He's a good talker. I don't say great, but he's a really good talker. Um, so he could climb his way out of it, but he didn't need to be in a hole to begin with, in my opinion. So I'm just hoping that this is, hopefully, especially since it's a singles match, I'm hoping this is maybe a sign for better times going forward. Next up, we have the Elite, which is a newly reformed Elite, and I was holding off until now to speak on this specific piece of big business. But the Elite have a new frontman, and his name is Okada. Personally, guys, I'm bummed. And I know that's gonna be crazy. I was really hoping Okada was gonna debut in WWE just for the sense of I was really looking forward to the story with Okada and the stories that could be told in WWE, which is crazy to say. But with the new regime and WWE and Triple H at the forefront, I was really excited what they'd be doing with Shinsuke. Yes, Shinsuke has been losing pretty much every match, but the new character development and the new angle that they were taking with this character and the subtitles and the closed captioning and things like that. So I was really hopeful. I was really hopeful, and this isn't to say that we won't get Okada in WWE in 4 years from now, but I don't know. It's something about it. And I say that because that was my mindset going into it. Now I give them total props and total credit for flipping it on us and not having Okada come in as the stereotypical babyface and what would have been a given, right? Everyone's gonna be super excited to see him. You hear the coin drop, oh, it's a done deal. I love that he's a bad guy Okada. I'm very excited to see that. I give them, like I said, props for going a different direction. And not that it's maybe a bold or a risky decision, but it could have been it would have been very easy for Okada to come in, be good guy Okada, just go from there. So I'm very intrigued to see what this new version of the Elite looks like. And the Jackson brothers, they just jump from trio to trio. So it's just it's funny to see all the different trios that they've had throughout their career. But nonetheless, it is The Elite, of course, the Jacksons, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, and of course, Kazuchika Okada facing off against Eddie Kingston, Penta El Cerro Miedo, and Pac, who is returning now. Pac is just he's like Miro to me. It's like he's here, then he's not here. He's here, then he's not here. So happy to see Pac back. I think Pac and Okada is gonna bang. Came out weird. But I think it's gonna be a really kick-ass trios match. I don't know. Something about it is just kind of random to me still too, but I think it's gonna be a good match regardless, and I'm not gonna sit here and nitpick this. So we will just move on to the main event, which will be AEW World Champion Samoa Joe facing off against Wardlow. As I predicted, Wardlow won the, what was it, the All-Star Scramble, I believe it was called, and is facing off against Samoa Joe. Didn't think it was going to be this early. I thought maybe they're going to hopefully, or not hopefully, but try to get some build and some hype and maybe some momentum for Wardlow. But they haven't really. And I think it's a shame. I think this is not going to be obviously a squash match, but they're just getting this match in there, getting it done and over with. I could say maybe going 10, 12, 15 minutes, including, I'd say probably 15 minutes, including like introductions and stuff. But I don't know. I think this is going to be a fun, hard hitting match. I think this is going to be a pretty good match, but I don't see anything crazy happening here. Part of me wonders if they are going to have some type of swerve or something happen at the end of the match. Not to cost Joe the championship, obviously, but it's just interesting to me that they threw this match on here now, unless Tony Khan just wanted to have an AEW World Championship match on the show. Then I get it, since it's a pretty big show and a big card and a big night. Maybe he just wanted to have the World Championship match, or the World Champion, rather, defend his title on that show. So if that's the case and the reasoning, then I get it, and no complaints for me. And this isn't a big deal, that Wardlow is cashing in his victory so soon, but I am still surprised that it's less than 2 weeks. But that being said, he was angry, 3 weeks ago, I think it was 4 weeks ago, when he gave that scathing promo and that yelling promo, which a lot of people didn't like, but I thought it was actually pretty good. I thought he answered some questions that needed to be answered. But again, if anything with this, I'm just surprised with how quickly it's happening. But like I said, guys, with that all being said, that's the card that we have here. I'm looking to make sure nothing else was added at the last second here, but nope, that's from the AEW account itself. So that's still the official lineup for tomorrow. AEW Big Business in Boston. It is my birthday tomorrow, like I joked earlier. That is true. It is my day of birth. So I will be actually out at dinner at 7. I'm not gonna be home before 8. But I'm gonna try to be back relatively soon so I can watch it maybe a half hour late. Definitely not doing a review show tomorrow, maybe Thursday or Friday. So I'll get that up there as soon as possible. And like I said, I'll have to make a separate video with all the Vince bullshit that's dropping and all that. That's adding and taking more and more, I don't want to say turns, because it's nothing that we weren't expecting, but just adding more layers to the unfortunate, to say the very least, news that's broken with all that. So we will definitely be getting into that as well. But like I said earlier, thank you so much, guys, for checking out the show, for hanging in there with me, for watching things on delay. You know what I mean? Obviously, if it was a perfect world, this would have been out last week, but it was nice to be able to at least reference a couple things from Revolution and look forward to tomorrow's Big Business show. And I'm, just like everyone else, very excited to see what ends up happening with Mercedes Mone. I'm happy she's happy, and I'm hoping, and I have a good feeling that this is going to be a sign of things to come for AEW, and just a new light that's going to be shown on the division, and maybe changing the perspective for the women talent as a whole. And I think Mercedes Mone is going to have a huge hand in that. Obviously, I think she's going to elevate a lot of stars. I think Britt Baker is going to be newly elevated as well, as crazy as that is, because she was the star for so long of the women's division, right, for AEW. And I think she still is a very important and integral piece. and I'm very, very curious and intrigued to see how they interact and if Britt stays a bad guy, right? And I would love to just see the story that they play with that, because I think that with Mercedes they can get a good story out of a lot of different, or a good story out of a good amount of different wrestlers with her. So I don't even want them to necessarily put the championship on her right away. I'd love to see not even a slow build, but I'm asking to see her go through everyone on the roster, excuse me, and kind of go through like a conquering mode and win the championship. And because then what does she do? So I'm really intrigued to see how they present her if she starts off the show, and just to see the format and the positioning for her. So like I was saying earlier, thank you so much guys for checking out the show, sticking with me and watching and downloading wherever you may do so. Feel free to like if you're watching this on YouTube, and drop a comment and subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm not going to pressure you guys. I'm not one of those people, or I don't even want to say content creators, because I'm just here just bullshitting, just pretty much just making a word diary and a word vomit diary for myself, so I can look back on it 15 years from now and be like, oh, remember in 2024 when Mercedes Mone debuted in AEW? What did I think? Probably never go back and watch it myself. But it is cool to just see, and it's fun for me. And before I jump off here, there's another show that or channel that I watch, Solid Monster Sounds Off. So Jason Solomon is the guy there. Shout out to him. He's one of the channels, the very few channels that I follow religiously. And it's fun to go back and I selected, it was like the popular tab, and or like the oldest tab, just kind of filtering through some of his videos the other day. And it's just so cool to see the progression, too, with how some of them go from sitting in a room like this, like I am, right, to having a green screen and then an official like backdrop, and then transitions and the graphics and everything like that. So it's cool. So again, I'm gonna get off my little soapbox here now and just say thank you guys. I truly appreciate you guys just for checking out the show and providing feedback, or just being you. So if no one's told you, I hope you're having a great day so far. I hope you have a great week. And until next time, my friends, have a great day and be safe.